Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. And in fact, if you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of this show is A Changing of the Guard. And the reason why there can be a changing of the guard somewhere in our lives or somewhere in the world is because we are having a new moon this coming Monday at 19 degrees of Aquarius. And Aquarius rules the future. It also rules freedom and rebellion and eccentricity, and it rules the whole aviation field. It rules space, artificial intelligence, it rules electricity and computers, and it rules very sudden, surprising change. And so I think that a changing of the guard may be imminent right now, somewhere in our lives or in an organization or even in a country. And the only question that we can ask ourselves now is, will it be a pleasant changing of the guard? And I'm afraid it will not be. In fact, it's not going to be pleasant at all. And the reason why is that the new moon on Monday at 19 degrees of Aquarius is not being fortified by anything. In other words, the sun and the moon are in that sign, but they are not being fortified because there are no planets in the other air signs, Gemini or Libra. And on top of that, 19 is a number that can be reduced to 1, and we reduce numbers by adding their digits. So 1 plus 9 equals 10. We would reduce that again. 1 plus 0 equals 1, the number of new starts. However, it's not going to be a great new start. In fact, it's going to be something that will bring about the changing of the guard. And that is because not only is that an unfortified new moon, but it is being very harshly squared by Mars in Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, and it also is at exactly 19 degrees. So the harsh square is absolutely precise right now. Mars rules war, and so war can be looming. It also rules the whole medical field, the military, the police. It rules the spy business, and it rules anything that has to do with finances, since it's the ruler of Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, indicating money that can be coming from any other source. So it can be about debt, it can be regarding loans or insurance proceeds or inheritance or grants or taxes that can be coming up. And all of those matters can have a rather murky future right now because we can be a little bit unsure about the costs of all of those things. And since Mars is a very aggressive planet and it is at home in the sign it rules, and its other ruler, Pluto, is sextiling it, so it's very strong that way, and it is being fortified by a trine from Neptune in Pisces, that Mars in Scorpio is actually stronger than the sun and the moon in Aquarius, because neither of those planets rule the sign of Aquarius. So this is a time when there has to be a changing of the guard, probably due to some financial reasons, or because Scorpio does rule justice and it rules survival. There can be matters connected to justice and survival that can prompt the changing of the guard as well. On top of that, the reason why it could all be a little unpleasant right now while this changing of the guard is going through is because there are 3 planets right behind the sun and the moon in Aquarius, and they are Pluto, Venus, and both of those planets are conjuncting each other, and Mercury, which are all in Capricorn. And those 3 planets are being well fortified. They're being tried by Jupiter in Virgo, and Jupiter is at 22 degrees of Virgo today, and it is exactly conjuncting the lucky north node of the moon in Virgo, also at 22 degrees. That's amazing. And so these 4 planets in the earth signs are well fortified, but the 3 in Capricorn are harshly squaring the ruler of Aquarius, where the new moon is on Monday, and that ruler is Uranus. Uranus is in Aries, the sign of new starts, and Uranus is the planet of sudden, surprising change. But those 3 planets in Capricorn are squaring that Uranus so harshly that I think this can be a time when there can be some sort of decision made, a very pragmatic decision made. In other words, it's very unemotional, it's based just on facts, and this pragmatic decision may be made to alter or to change the future direction of someone or even of an institution or a country that has been wanting to have everything all their own way. It's not going to happen. And so a new start can have a very bumpy finish. And the reason why can be due either to financial problems, maybe somebody can't afford everything, or maybe they're just spending too much, or costs are too high, or it can be due to matters regarding justice and survival, which must be addressed now because there are so many facts that are very clear and out in the open. And so mercifully, very mercifully, I think the gavel is coming down on some sort of new start. But that can be preferable to incarceration or to death. So there can be some new start that is quite a serious one, but that needs to be changed or needs to be altered or needs to be stopped. And so I think it will be. And so that's why, mercifully, if the gavel comes down on a new start and stops it, it's better than going even further, say, and involving incarceration if it's a criminal new start, or involving death if it is a really bad new start. So we have to consider that those things can be happening right now. And if they are happening or coming up soon, it could be that compromise can look very attractive, particularly to the person who's getting their new start changed. But it isn't possible right now. Remember, I said the new moon and the sun in Aquarius are not being fortified by anything. And they're being seriously challenged by that Mars in Scorpio. So a compromise or some sort of deal is not going to be possible right now. And the reason why is that the facts are so abundantly clear to everyone, and what that is an indication of is that justice must be done. And so it will be, and that justice can involve a changing of the guard somewhere. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, you might be involved or even know someone else who is involved in a changing of the guard, because Uranus in your sign is being so harshly challenged by 3 planets in Capricorn, Venus, Pluto, and Mercury. And they're being well fortified. Uranus in your sign is being tried by Saturn in Sagittarius, which means you may want to make a move. You may want to go back to somewhere where you've lived before, or go back to a job you've had before. That could work out pretty well. In other words, associating a little bit more with something or someone from the past, that could work out. But as far as making a new start and doing everything your own way, I think there's going to be a pragmatic decision to halt that. It might be just due to budget cuts. You know, people can't afford everything right now. And so by a pragmatic decision, I mean one that is sort of cut and dried. It doesn't have anything to do with personalities. It has to do with the bottom line, or it has to do with an abundance of facts that are present. And for that reason, they can simply identify a financial problem that has to be addressed, or a problem with justice and survival that has to be addressed as well. So I think that whether you know someone else who's going to go through a changing of the guard, or whether you yourself are going to be affected by that, I think you can be challenged this week, Aries. And something that you wanted to have start off and sort of get off with a bang, I don't think it's going to happen that way. And so I hope you've got a plan B around somewhere. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time under the new moon on Monday in Aquarius that you need to be really, really careful, because there is something in your financial future, your immediate financial future, that can appear to be very threatening right now, but not your long-term financial future. And so right now, on Monday, the sun and moon in Aquarius will be squaring your sun, and what is even more painful is that Mars in Scorpio will be opposing your sun sign and will remain in opposition to your sun sign until March 3rd. So there is a financial situation around somewhere that has to be addressed, and that is why, and it is somewhat immediate. It could be high bills from Christmas spending. It could be high taxes that you have to pay. It can be that there is an investment matter that is going to require more outlay, and it can also be that something that you wanted to do in your immediate future, in other words, you already have plans for it, is possibly not affordable, or just not possible at this time due to overstretched credit or whatever. So I think that you are being threatened right now financially, or there's some financial problem around that you must address, Taurus. Your long-term situation, though, is looking just fine, and that is because it is ruled by Capricorn, and the 3 planets in Capricorn, including your own ruler Venus, are trining your sun, and so is Jupiter in Virgo. So your health can even be improving. You just have to be real careful with the bookwork right now, Taurus, and be sure and do everything correctly, and even double check yourself as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, I think that you are, quite surprisingly, are probably going to profit from some sort of changing of the guard or sudden surprising change that occurs perhaps in other people's lives. And in fact, some sort of new start could go awry, and you might be rather pleasantly surprised that it's going to put you in a better spot anyway. And that is because Uranus in Aries is sextiling your sun, and the new moon on Monday, along with the sun in Aquarius, are trining your sun. So I think you can hear the call of the future, Gemini, and there's something in it for you. So if there is a changing of the guard, I don't think you will be personally affected, but I do think that the outcome will sort of open a door for you, and you might be surprised at that. But I think it will turn out all right for you. At least it will present you with better opportunities, and then it's up to you to take advantage of them. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, I think that you might be sort of at a crossroads right now, because the 3 planets in Capricorn are opposing your sun. That's Venus and Pluto, which are in a tight conjunction right now, and Mercury as well, and they're all direct, and they are opposing your sun. And also Uranus in Aries, which they're also opposing, is squaring your sun as well. And so you could sort of be caught between a rock and a hard place right now, Cancer. And I don't think it's anything that you've done. I think that it is due to some sort of pragmatic decision that can be made by others that want to alter or change a new start that somebody wants to make because they want it all on their own terms, and that's not going to happen. In fact, a new start is going to have a bumpy finish. And so you could be affected by that, Cancer. And yet, my advice to you, Cancer, since Mars in Scorpio is trining your sun and Neptune in Pisces are also trining your sun, and those are the 2 strongest planets in the heavens right now, because they're both at home in the sign they rule, and they are both in very good aspect to your sun sign. So my advice to you, Cancer, is to stay out of the fray. Try to withdraw a little bit. No matter who else is having problems, they might have brought them on themselves, or else they are problems that are caused by a situation beyond your control. And that's why I'm urging you not to get involved or respond, because you can fall back on very strong resources that you have somewhere. In other words, there can be some more money somewhere. You could probably tap into that if you wanted to. And there can be additional help for you behind the scenes that no one even knows about. So you might be in a stronger position than you realize, Cancer, as long as you don't tear yourself apart by getting involved in other people's problems that you didn't cause and you cannot solve either. So try not to get dragged into something that will instead just drag you down. Step back if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time when you have to sort of walk on eggshells, and the reason why is that sun and new moon on Monday in Aquarius are opposing your sun sign, and the sun is your ruler, Leo. So when it's in opposition to your own sign, that's not too good. It simply means that if you have some future plans coming up, they could be either put on hold or altered in one way or another. And so, I think you better move the timeline out a ways if you want to accomplish something, because I don't think it's going to happen on your schedule, Leo. And also, Mars in Scorpio, which is squaring the sun and new moon, is also harshly squaring your sun sign, which means there can be a financial problem that you could be having pretty soon, or else you already have it, and it could involve credit or debt or the things that Scorpio rules, such as the medical field or insurance proceeds, something like that, or even grants. And it could look a little bit unsure at the moment, and that is why I don't think that you can afford to make any abrupt moves right now. I do want to remind you that Saturn in Sagittarius and Uranus in Aries are trining your sun for the next 2 years. So you do have fortification to your sun sign. There are other things that can work out for you, Leo. But this is a time right now when you may be threatened in one way or another, or at least your financial future can be threatened. And either because of high costs or because of bills that need to be paid. And that's why you really can't afford to confront anyone right now, and don't get in an argument. You will really lose it, and in fact, you could make things worse for yourself if you do argue with anybody, so I hope you don't. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when I think that you can be very lucky. And the reason why is that Jupiter in your sign is at 22 degrees, right where the lucky north node of the moon is. So Virgo, you are either going to meet, or you already have, a lucky friend who will be able to help you out, or I think give you additional information that you may be requiring. And with that information, you could profit. And that is because Jupiter in your sign, along with the north node, are trining Venus, Pluto, and Mercury, your own ruler, in Capricorn. And so there are a lot of clear facts right now. There's more information about something. And so what I think is going to happen is that when somebody, either a person or an organization or a group of people, make a pragmatic decision to either alter or change the future direction of somebody who's been wanting to have everything their own way, that's not going to happen now. I think that instead they could, after that's done, after the changing of the guard has occurred, they could be looking at you in a very appreciative way, Virgo, and realizing your sterling worth. So I think that things can look better for you. And Virgo rules Japan. And so this is a time when I think that people who are steady and reliable are worth their weight in gold. And that might be you, Virgo. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, you can be beset by problems that you actually can't solve because they are out of your control. And you could be feeling as if you are the victim of harsh demands that other people are making. And a pragmatic decision could be made by other people, and there could be a change in management that affects you, or some sort of change in policy that could be a little hard to live with, because the planets in Capricorn are all squaring your sun sign, and one of them is Venus, your own ruler. And so yes, you may be feeling a little misunderstood these days, Libra, and you can certainly be working very hard for whatever money you are making, because Mars is in Scorpio right ahead of your sun sign. But I urge you to stay the course, Libra. And the reason why is that things are about to open up for you, and that is because on Monday, the sun and new moon in Aquarius do trine your sun. That is wonderful. You will be able to see some avenue that can be very intriguing for you, something new and fresh, and maybe even a little eccentric or unusual, or certainly ahead of its time. but it could be so attractive to you that could bring you either good news, or you could have just a sudden new opportunity that is something you'd really like to do. So keep that in mind, Libra. And if you have to struggle against a changing policy or a changing of the guard right now, then just hang in there, Libra, because remember, things are going to get better. And this new moon does represent a new opportunity for you. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when I think you might be on the warpath. And the reason why is that Mars in your sign is exactly squaring the sun and new moon on Monday. And Mars is at 19 degrees, and so are the sun and new moon. So, and they're both fixed signs. But Mars is stronger than the sun and the new moon because it's the ruler of your sign, and your other ruler, Pluto, is in Capricorn, sextiling that Mars. So you might be on the warpath. You might be upset about a financial injustice, or you might be aware of an awful lot of facts that have come to light that indicate that justice and survival must be addressed. Issues or matters concerning that must be addressed. And I think that you are so convinced of that that nothing is going to stop you from following through on that. And so I think that you may even be thinking about putting your own plans on hold in order to serve a greater good right now. And you do have the energy and probably the wherewithal to do that. In other words, sort of put your money where your mouth is. So you could do that. And if it is anything that has to do with helping you make a dream come true, you should do it. And the reason why is that Neptune in Pisces is trining your sun right now. So I think you're somewhat unstoppable at the moment, Scorpio, and as long as you are not being underhanded or revengeful, then you can be moving forward on a just cause, and that will be all right. We have to remember that Russia is ruled by Scorpio, and so we will need to see what happens in that country as well, because they can either take the high road or the low road. We'll have to see. But I urge you, Scorpio, to take the high road if you can, because I don't think anything's going to stop you. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is simply a time when I think that you are not going to, you're going to be a little bit stymied or stalled or even stopped right now, because you may have been really relying on some rather unique new opportunity that I think can be put on hold now or stopped because of a changing of the guard. I've got to concentrate on your finances, Sagittarius, and that is because Mars in Scorpio is right behind your sun sign, and it is very forceful right now, and that means there can be jealous competitors that can be making trouble for you. There can also be higher bills that you really have to pay attention to, or there can be credit problems or tax problems coming up on your horizon, so you need to be careful about that. And there may not be any hopeful last-minute quick fix the way you may have been counting on. Instead, you really need to go around more reputable people or in an organization that's been around for a long time, and even if you had to take a job that was a little bit low paying, you'd at least be doing it for a very stable employer, and that's what you really need to concentrate on right now, Sagittarius. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, the planets in your sign are the ones that are going to be indicating people who can make a pragmatic decision to alter or change the future plans of somebody who's been wanting everything their own way. That is not going to happen, and in fact, it can be that you know a great many more facts now than you used to know, and that's because Jupiter and the north node of the moon in Virgo are trining your sun sign. And Virgo does rule fact-finding and results and accountability. And so I think that you are well armed to move forward right now and just make a no-nonsense decision about something. And I don't think anything's going to stop you. Mars in Scorpio, which is harshly aspecting the sun and new moon, are actually sextiling your sun. And sign, and Pluto is in your sun sign. It's the co-ruler of Scorpio. So I think you're in a very good position simply to really do business in a practical way, and that I think you'll be successful at that as well. Just watch out for people who want to sort of throw things at you a little bit suddenly, and try to deflect those things if you can, because there could be a sudden surprise at any moment. But I think you're on firm ground right now, Capricorn, so I hope you stay there. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, the new moon on Monday is in your sun sign, but I urge you to be very, very careful, because it is not fortified by anything, Aquarius, and it is being harshly squared by Mars in Scorpio exactly. And so this is certainly not a time for you to get in an argument about money, and in fact there can be matters concerning justice or survival that can influence or derail your future plans right now. And so if I were you, Aquarius, I wouldn't count on too much right now. And that is because there could be a matter that isn't in your control at all that is resulting in a changing of the guard, and that means changing in management, changing in leadership, changing in influence that some organizations have, and that could cause a little change in your life, or even a very big one. And that is why you don't have too much wiggle room right now, Aquarius, because the sun and new moon are not being fortified by any planets in any of the other air signs. And that is why I think you need to be very careful and very cautious right now if you can. And try to get all your bills paid, Aquarius, so that you don't have financial problems, or if you have been involved in any kind of a cover-up or a gamble, you've lost now. And you'll just have to face that. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when you really do need to follow your dream and sort of stay on the up and up if you can, because right behind your sun sign is the sun and new moon in Aquarius on Monday, and they are those planets are very harshly aspected by Mars in Scorpio. So if you have been making plans, future plans, sort of behind the scenes, I think you better check them twice, and particularly the cost of them, Pisces, because the cost could be going up. Or there can be changes in credit terms, or there can be some sort of financial matter that can work out in your favor. Mars in Scorpio is trining your sun, but there can still be some sort of something in the future that involves a changing of the guard, or a changing of management, or a changing of rules and regulations or policies, and you will have to adapt to that. So there may be some jarring surprise in the background of your life right now based on a pragmatic decision or a budget cut that someone else makes. And that's why you need to be real careful right now, Pisces. But you do have strong backup from Mars and Scorpio. So I think there is a way that you can solve financial problems if they come up now. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can subscribe to see our show anytime you want by subscribing to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.